2nd, 2026. As we work through this, we're actually going to jump to agenda item number 6 to get us started. So we're going to start with a briefing on MARTA's Equal Employment Opportunity Plan update. Ms. Nash will be providing that update, so the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Zakabe, Mr. Hunt, Ms. Allen, and members of the board. I'm Paula Nash, AGM of Corporate Compliance and Engagement, and this briefing is on MARTA's Equal Employment Opportunity Plan, or EEO plan. As a recipient of federal funds, every 4 years, MARTA has to provide an updated EEO plan to the FTA. The EEO plan in general addresses our employment policies and practices, which include our recruiting and hiring process and our EEO complaint process. However, the most prominent focus is MARTA's workforce demographics and whether there are demographic groups that are being underutilized based on the availability in MARTA in the metropolitan Atlanta area. In essence, we have to show that we are an equal opportunity employer, not by just saying it, though we do say it, but we also have to show that we are doing it or attempting to do it. This plan covers May 1st, 2026 through April 30th, 2030. But the relevant look-back data, which will be some of the charts that you will see, will be the last 4 fiscal years. So jumping right into the meat and potatoes of the EEO plan, which is the workforce demographics, the FTA has 3 main focus areas, and we want to cover those in this presentation. So the presentation will provide an overview of MARTA's current workforce as it relates to race and gender. It will determine if there has been any significant demographic shifts over the last 4 years in MARTA's workforce. And we will identify any groups employed at a level below the availability of qualified persons in the relevant labor market. So starting out, here's an overview of MARTA's workforce. In 2025, the authority-wide, MARTA had 4,167 employees. And I want to point out, these are actual employees, not just funded positions. Also, the race groups that you see here are inclusive of both male and female. The slide shows the breakdown by race and ethnicity as well as gender here. And the data I want to also point out is based on an actual snapshot date, that date being June 30th, 2025. And as we look at data during this presentation, we will always be looking at a snapshot date because obviously employment changes daily. And that snapshot date will be June 30th of whichever year we're looking at. The orange here represents MARTA's workforce. When doing an analysis regarding what do these numbers actually represent, we compare it to the census data, specifically the American Community Survey Report, or the ACS report, because it includes the relevant job codes that are required by the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, or EEOC. The geographical region that the ACS uses is the 29-county Atlanta Metropolitan Statistical Area, or the Atlanta MSA. The most recent census data was published in 2021, so the blue Atlanta MSA bar is based on that 2021 data. So has there been a significant change in demographics from 2021 to 2025? We analyzed different factors to look at this. The factors include race and ethnicity alone, gender alone, job codes alone, and then race and job codes combination. So starting out looking at race and ethnicity, there was a slight change with only 1% change for Blacks, white, and American Indian employees from 2021 to 2025. Then looking at gender alone, there was no change from 2021 to 2025. And I do want to point out, of course, we're sure those numbers fluctuated between those 4 years, but looking at that snapshot date of June 30th of 2021 and June 30th of 2025, we ended up with the same percentages. So this slide shows the raw number difference between 2021 and 2025 based on job codes, which are the EEOC job codes that I referenced earlier. The total workforce slightly decreased from 2021, where we had 4,193 employees. And we now, in 2025, had 4,167 employees. And a little bit about the job codes. Like I said, they were created by the EEOC, and it's meant to cover government and government-related employers. And so it can be a little tricky determining which MARTA positions fall under which job code. So I'm going to give some examples here. For the job code officials and administrators, that would be MARTA's directors and EMT. Professionals would be our analysts, project managers, operations superintendents and supervisors, and police lieutenants and majors. Technicians would include our service planners, our bus stop planners, our claims adjusters, and our police sergeants. Protective service would include our sworn police officers, our police dispatchers and call takers. Administrative support would include our office administrators, our customer care representatives, and also traffic checkers. The skilled craft workers are our journeymen, and the service and maintenance code or workers include our bus and rail operators, our service persons, and station agents. And you'll see that category represents almost half of MARTA's employees. The key takeaway from this slide is that the number of officials and administrators and professionals increased about 21% and 9% respectively between 2021 and 2025. But also we want to note that the number of administrative support and protective service decreased about 18% and 9% respectively. Now, I suspect, based on more recent numbers that we've gotten, that protective service number has since increased quite a bit since June 30th. Looking at the job code and race combination, there has been some shifts. The largest change is in the officials and administrators and technician categories. So has there been any significant shifts in MARTA's demographics over the last 4 years? Well, what we have just seen is that the percentage of minorities and non-minorities has remained basically consistent, with just a 1% difference in certain categories. The percentage of male and females remain exactly the same. There was a shift. There has been some increases and decreases in the job codes and race categories that we looked at. But when we're looking for significant shifts, we're looking for a dominant group in numbers that has shift to a non-dominant group or vice versa, and that did not happen. So the answer to the question of any significant demographic shifts is no. So looking at the last question, are any groups employed at a level below the availability of qualified persons in the relevant labor market? Spoiler alert, the answer to that question is yes. I'm going to show you how we got there. To answer the question, we compare the relevant labor market to MARTA's workforce based on the job codes. But remember, the relevant labor market is a 29-county Atlanta MSA, which arguably may be large for MARTA's labor market. Also, the job codes are meant to reflect the labor market of all jobs, not just transit. Again, the reason we use the 29-county region is because that data reflects the necessary federal job codes categories that we have to show. So looking at this slide, we're looking at the availability versus utilization. So it's comparing the Atlanta MSA, which would be the availability, for available workers and MARTA's workforce. Given our area, public transit, there has always traditionally been underutilizations in the categories that you see there when compared to the overall labor market. We continue to have underutilization across the board for white employees. And of a little lesser extent, we show underutilization for Hispanic and Asian employees in many of the categories. So there's opportunities for employment in pretty much all areas where we showed underutilization, but particularly I want to point out our skilled craft workers and our service maintenance workers, since that is the largest part of MARTA's workforce. There is definitely underutilization there that we can work on. So we do have plans for achieving process. We want to continue focusing on recruitment and outreach to underutilized groups through social media and engaging with various organizations, including professional organizations and educational institutions. We want to continue monitoring our employment practices regularly so that we can see any improvement that we're making and make adjustments as we need to. And we want to brief management on the results. So that concludes my presentation, and thank you for your time.
All right, thank you for the update. Any questions? Just one question before we continue. You know, if I look at this and look over the 4-year period, I think the big takeaway is that, you know, there hasn't been change. Maybe just, is there anything that's new in the plan that we're trying to do over the next 4 years that we didn't do last 4 years that we think might actually move the needle on some of our goals?
Well, I wouldn't say it was things that we didn't do over the last 4 years, but things that we want to do maybe a little more aggressively is just target particular areas with making sure that they are aware of MARTA's vacancies or and our job announcements when we kind of get back into full hiring, so making sure that these areas of potential employees are aware.
Okay. Thank you. I see Chair Ide.
Thank you, and sorry I was late this morning. I do have a question about the, it's not really an EEO question, but just on the, let me see what slide this is, the one that shows the workforce by job code. And I don't know if this is a question for you or a question for Mr. Hunt on, I know you mentioned that you think that the protective service number is probably higher, but just sort of looking at these, the distribution of our workforce across these groups, how do you all feel about having the right number of people and the right number of, you know, of categories to make sure we are being, you know, clean, safe, efficient, on time, all of that. Just it sort of jumps out at me if our craft workers and service and maintenance numbers have gone down.
We can definitely always use, you know, more, but we're being very strategic with that. While we also included FSO and yielding some great results there on the bus side, we're converting over to the rail side, but it's applying the amount of labor that we have in the right locations at the right times. There was some misses and gaps, and as we get into our FSO report out to the board, you all will see the improvements in what we're doing to tie the time periods in which we're working to the best need when our vehicles and other services are down and out of use, having the maximum amount of workforce available to do that work. So that's also led to some of the efficiencies, and we're just generally trying to recruit more.
Okay. And then on the protective services number, this probably doesn't reflect the recent classes coming out of training?
It does not reflect that. So this is June 30th of 2025.
Okay.
And I do want to point out these numbers are actual employees. They're not the funded positions.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So the deal with, on protective services, the board will see a dramatic increase because we got to our budgeted allotment by the end of October of 2025 after this period, and we have a full allotment somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 35 cadets in training right now. So that number is going to jump significantly.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll head to agenda item number 1, approval of the November 20th, 2025 Business Management Committee meeting minutes. Do I have a motion and a second? Seeing is moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion?
Is there an error here? Is it November 20th, 2026 versus 25? That should be updated?
You are absolutely correct that it, well, yeah, on our screen here we're seeing, so I see on the agenda we're correct, but on our screen we're seeing 2026. All right, please vote. And just confirm everybody's voting on the November 20th, 2025 meeting minutes, and I see it passes. All right, we'll continue with our agenda. Agenda item number 2, resolution authorizing the award of a contract for drug and alcohol compliance software, RFP P50717. Ms. Dawkins, it's yours.
Good morning, Vice Chairman Zagabe, Mr. Hunt, Ms. Allen, and all other members of the board. I'm before you this morning seeking your approval and recommendation to the full board of directors to approve a resolution to authorize the award of a contract for the procurement of drug and alcohol compliance software. MARTA maintains a compliant drug and alcohol program under the leadership of Kessie Dorner, Assistant General Manager of Human Resources, and Phyllis Walker, who has provided exceptional service as our Drug and Alcohol Program Manager for a significant number of years. MARTA conducts an average of 3,000 drug and alcohol tests, which include pre-employment, random, reasonable suspicion, and post-accident tests. Additionally, the Federal Transit Administration announces the minimum random drug test rate annually, which may affect the random test rate at either 25% or 50%. As of January 1st, 2025, the annual mandated random testing threshold per the FTA is 50% for drugs and 10% for alcohol. To meet the FTA mandate for a compliant drug and alcohol testing program, MARTA must maintain robust software that provides efficient record keeping. The system should be centralized and user-friendly to ensure a secure holding place for employees' drug and alcohol testing records for the life cycle. When planning to go out to market, the MARTA team was seeking innovation that may enhance efficiencies in our overall data management program. The scope of the services for the procurement included the following specifications: a secure cloud-based solution for tracking and managing multiple testing programs. The system should operate seamlessly with existing systems and accommodate future data integrations from service agents, including clinics and laboratories. Full compliance with the Federal Transit Administration requirements for random selection, including automated notification processes. The system should generate accurate, timely, and efficient annual drug and alcohol management information system reports. support the authority's need for comprehensive and critical statistical reporting and analysis, track, document, and maintain records of required drug and alcohol training. Finally, we wanted a system to deliver ongoing system enhancements and innovations to streamline data collection, processing, and reporting. During the procurement process, 4 proposals were received by MARTA, and 3 were deemed responsive. Drug Pack LLC, which is our incumbent provider, Translation Global LLC, and Nexus 33 Group LLC. At the conclusion of the Selection Evaluation Committee review, Drug Pack LLC was deemed to be in the competitive range. The SEC determined that it is in the best interest of the authority to enter a contract with our incumbent provider, Drug Pack LLC, as this firm demonstrated the strongest technical capabilities and offered competitive pricing. This contract has a 5-year term for a total of $802,435 funded by local operating funds. In conclusion, the Department of Human Resources requests the Business Management Committee recommend approval of the resolution authorizing the award of a contract for drug and alcohol compliance software, RFP P50717, to Drug Pack LLC in the amount of $802,435. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions? All right, do I have a motion and a second? Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. The resolution passes. All right, let's continue through our agenda to agenda item 3, resolution authorizing the solicitation of proposals for the procurement of employee assistance program EAP services, RFP P50815. Ms. Dawkins, it's yours.
Thank you so much. I'm before you this time seeking approval and recommendation to the full Board of Directors to approve a resolution to authorize the solicitation of proposals for the procurement of MARTA's Employee Assistance Program. MARTA maintains an employee assistance program to assist with mental and emotional well-being of our employees, support the organization by helping employees cope in the workplace, and provide guidance to employees with personal issues that affect job performance and productivity. The scope of services for this procurement includes individual counseling, critical incident stress debriefings, referrals to community resources when needed, legal consultations, financial consultations, management consultations, substance abuse assistance, and mental wellness training and seminars. Under our Employee Assistance Program, we address trauma care and support. If an employee experiences a traumatic event firsthand, heard about the event, or were involved with those immediately affected, we provide immediate access to EAP. Our Occupational Medical Services team coordinates counseling services as needed, and the team is available and ready to address urgent referrals to assist with emotional reactions. Within the 2023 labor agreement, some of you may recall that MARTA and ATU incorporated a new trauma leave provision. This provision provides an employer-endorsed approach to handle firsthand trauma that a represented employee may experience related to a vehicular fatality or incident involving serious bodily injury. They have the opportunity to be on paid administrative leave up to 7 work days as needed, and HR supports this trauma leave provision by providing a seamless coupling of EAP services for the impacted employee as soon as possible. Slide 5 illustrates for you the utilization rate of our EAP program with our current provider, Anthem. MARTA's utilization rate is 11.9%, which represents a significant rate above Anthem's similar book of business at 4.8%. This trend reflects positively on MARTA's employees and family members' knowledge of the benefits that are available to them and willingness to take advantage of the program offerings. The next slide demonstrates the range of matters that employees seek and/or need assistance with. And as you can see, the emotional and psychological is at the highest level. Our current contract with Anthem will sunset August 31st, 2026. We are proposing to replace it with a 5-year contract that runs through August 2031. In closing, the Department of Human Resources requests the Business Management Committee recommend approval of the resolution authorizing the solicitation of proposals for the procurement of MARTA's Employee Assistance Program, RFP P50815. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do I have a motion and a second on the resolution? Seeing it's been moved and seconded, any discussion? Ms. Hartage?
If it sunsets in August of '26, why are we doing it now? Is there a reason we need to do it 6 months early?
Yes, just to ensure that we have all the time we need to effectively do the procurement and have implementation of any new services. Sometimes, depending on the provider, it does take a considerable amount of time to implement the program at the new location.
Even if we're just rolling over with the same existing provider?
It doesn't take that time if we're rolling over with the same existing provider, but we are going to the market to see
Okay.
what's out there.
All right, thank you.
And just as a reminder, we previously had an EAP provider before we had the Anthem program, and that program ended suddenly. And so Anthem was kind of a pickup services and a stopgap. So we really did not get to explore the market fully when we brought Anthem on. So
Okay.
we are doing a full-fledged vetting of the market.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Dr. Bolton Harris?
Good morning. Is it typical to have a 5-year term contract, or is it that you're asking for? Is it standard?
It's relatively standard. Usually we do 3-year with 2-year options. Historically, the trend has been that we have been using the full 5 years. And to be perfectly honest, it's a heavy lift on the staff to do administratively to turn these types of contracts over pretty rapidly. So the 5 years is pretty standard.
Okay, thanks.
All right, and just last question. I saw the employee usage, which is great to see. You know, anytime I see something that's like 3 times above the average, that's either a great thing or that could not be a great thing. So just how should we interpret, you know, that level of usage? And do we see that as a good thing, or do we see that as, you know, there are some things that we need to think through as we go forward?
We see it as a good thing in terms that they are taking advantage of the benefit, but the reality, it's also just our reality. Unfortunately, in the transit business and the work that we do, there are a lot of stressors. So we recognize that our work environment may be a little more stressful than others. We take that in consideration, and we do everything we can to dispel some of that and make the environment as pleasant as possible. But the reality is there's some greater stressors that exist in our work environment than many of the other comparators in the book of business.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, if no further questions, please vote.
I didn't vote against. I apologize. It looks like I did, but I didn't.
It does look like you didn't. Perfect. If the record could show that, I see it's been corrected. The resolution passes. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
All right, we'll proceed with the agenda. Agenda item number 4, resolution authorizing the award of a contract for access cameras for closed circuit television CCTV upgrade World Cup project IFB B50779. Mr. Morris, floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Vice Chair Zagabe, Mr. Hunt, Ms. Allen, and other members of the Business Management Committee. My name is Tyson Morris, and I'm the AGM CIO of Technology. Today, I'm here to present a request for a resolution authorizing the award of a contract for access cameras for the closed circuit television upgrade World Cup project IFB B50779. One of the most effective tools MARTA has to maintain safety across our stations is our CCTV camera system, which is essential to police operations and real-time incident response. As part of a broader effort to modernize MARTA's security infrastructure, we are using a phased approach to the upgrading of these CCTV cameras. We are in the second phase, which will replace 280 cameras with new access technology, improving image clarity, coverage, and overall system reliability. These cameras will integrate with MARTA's new Fusus platform, which provides real-time visibility and advanced analytical capabilities within MARTA's real-time crime center and is being integrated with the Atlanta Police Department for greater observability for events such as the World Cup. This enhanced capability will strengthen crime prevention, improve situational awareness, and enable faster, more coordinated responses by MARTA police and partner law enforcement agencies. This investment lays the foundation for future modernization efforts and reinforces MARTA's commitment to providing a safe and secure transit experience for our customers and employees. 11 bids were received, and the lowest responsive and responsible bid was received by Intellica LLC in the amount of $551,261.97. This 5-year contract is funded with local capital funds. In conclusion, the Department of Technology requests the Business Management Committee recommend to the Board full approval of the resolution authorizing the award of a contract for the access cameras for closed-circuit television upgrade World Cup project IFB B50779 to Intellica LLC in the amount of $551,261.97. Thank you. Turn the floor to you.
All right, thank you. Do I have a motion and a second? It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Mr. Pond?
This resolution will go before the board for final approval, and you're 4 months away. So my question, 4 months away from World Soccer events.
Yes, sir.
So is this enough time? I mean, are we really jammed with the length of time to execute this project in 4 months?
No, yes, we're jammed, but we take that into account. There's no doubt from my team that we'll be able to procure these and install them in time for the World Cup.
So the second part of that question, if more of a procurement question, but is there a way that you could, contractor could give them a notice to proceed to not wait 2 or 3 more weeks with certain limitations?
If that's an option, we would greatly appreciate that.
I'll let you work it out.
Thank you for bringing that.
Good morning, Mr. Pond. I can see from the procurement team that is not an option from looking in the audience. However, what Tyson did not mention is that we've already, the IT team and the radio maintenance team have already started running the wires and fiber. So we've done the preparatory work to just that's needed. So now we can just replace the devices when they come online or when they come to us. So
That's great.
that's why we're pretty confident that we will be able to get this done. And I will also state, as Tyson mentioned, this is a phase 2. I will, mention that there was someone who was eager. That person is not in the room to get their project and make sure that we pay attention to their project, and that is why you see the words World Cup there. But this is something that we were planning to do already.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ms. Jones?
Good morning. So if MARTA's team is doing the pre-work, the installation of the fibers, is this a contract just for the camera units alone? Why is this a 5-year contract? Are they providing any other services? And then second question, is this a phased installation, or are you anticipating all 280 some odd cameras are being installed by summertime?
So this is for the procurement of the physical cameras, including the warranty and support. They usually have a 5-year, 5 to 7 year lifespan. As far as the phased approach, we will, as soon as we get them, we will install them. Every year, as part of a refresh cycle, different cameras have different lifespans. So we'll take into account the highest need, the most critical, and make sure we upgrade those. So it's a continuous thing, but these particular high visible stations and some of these cameras are inoperable at the moment. So this is going to get all those back into service.
All right. If no further questions, I just have one more, and this might be something we can discuss. I'd just love to understand better, but typically when we've seen solicitations, they've been for cameras, and I noticed that this is like a brand of cameras.
Mm-hmm.
So just 2 questions here. One, why is this specific to a brand rather than just cameras? And then 2, just generally, like, how do we think about, like, there are different camera options out there. I know that I've seen solicitations for other brands within our network. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what is our strategy around, the the type of camera we're going after, where in the network, for what reasons? You don't have to, that's a loaded question, but would love to better understand that.
It's a great question. And, you know, there are multiple camera vendors out there, and each one are developing their own software that, you know, has greater capabilities out there for, you know, artificial intelligence. I think the key word that we've been looking for is interoperability, making sure that some of our systems, like I mentioned, Fusus or others, can integrate with those regardless of what brand they are. So we continuously keep abreast of the market and what are some of the what we would say the more advanced cameras there. So whether it's a Bosch or an Axis or Genetec, whatever else it is, we want to make sure it fits within our system, but the first and foremost, we make sure that we're not putting all our eggs in one basket, if you will. There's a strategy there, and there's pros and cons both ways, but we felt like these cameras are going to give us the most capabilities, the best visibility, and the longest lifespan.
Great, that makes me feel great. All right, seeing no more questions, please vote. Resolution passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, let's head to agenda item 5, resolution authorizing the award of a contract for wide area network aggregation redesign and switch upgrade, IFB B5064 7-A. Mr. Morse.
Thank you so much. Once again, I'm here to present a request for a resolution to authorize the award of a contract for the enterprise-wide area network aggregation redesign and switch upgrade, IFB B50647A. A network switch connects multiple computers and systems within a network, directing data to the correct destination. It functions as a smart traffic controller for MARTA systems, improving performance, reducing congestion, and strengthening security. As the number of devices and applications in our environment continues to grow, the need for greater visibility, control, and reliability across our network becomes increasingly critical. As part of our strategic 5 to 7 year infrastructure refresh, we are proposing the acquisition of state-of-the-art Cisco network switches. These switches will significantly increase data throughput and bandwidth, enabling faster and more efficient communication between systems and supporting the operational demands of the organization. The upgraded platform will also introduce enhanced security capabilities to better protect sensitive data and reduce exposure to cyber threats. In addition, the new infrastructure will provide improved scalability to support future growth and new services, as well as increased redundancy to strengthen our reliability, minimize service disruptions, and maximize network uptime. 9 bids were received. The lowest responsive and responsible bid was received by NetSync Network Solutions in the amount of $441,719.92. This 3-year contract is funded with local capital funds from the approved fiscal year 2026. In conclusion, the Department of Technology requests the Business Management Committee recommend to the full board approval of the resolution authorizing award of a contract for the Enterprise WAN Aggregation Redesign and Switch Upgrade IFB B50647A to NetSync Network Solutions in the amount of $441,719.92.
All right, thank you. Do I have a motion and a second? Saying it's been moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Mr. Frierson?
Yes, I have a question concerning when this particular contract is executed. Are these, does this cost involve installation of these switching systems? And I'm sure there's a warranty on it. What about the installation part?
We handle most of that internally. So we have network engineers and all those that will do this. We do utilize AT&T and other services to make sure we're connected and everything's up and running, but we do the majority of this work in-house.
So this is procurement for the switching systems, but once all that comes in, you just have 1 year to implement it or to purchase it?
This is for the purchase of it. So
Okay.
once we receive it, we'll go ahead and start implementing those immediately.
Okay, all right. All right, thank you.
Mr. Hudson?
I noticed that the actual lowest bidder came in and was rejected because they were asking for their own terms and conditions. What does that mean exactly, just for full disclosure?
I'm going to refer Ms. Holland.
Good morning, Mr. Hudson. I'm Jacqueline Holland, AGM of Contracts, Procurement, Materials. Almost forgot my department. All
Ms.
right.
Holland, would
Can you hear me?
Lean in, yes.
Okay,
thank
all
you.
right. Good morning. So the lowest bidder bid was non-responsive because they added their own terms and conditions to the contracts. When we have bids which are not negotiable procurements like an RFP, request for proposal, we can't negotiate your terms. What we submit, you either accept them or we go to the next person. So that's why they were non-responsive. Before our end users see those bids, we go through it, we vet it with legal, and then we give them the lowest bid to review. In this case, we went to the next lowest because they redline our terms and conditions.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Great. And this may be a follow-up to that. This might be a process procurement question, but I noticed on RFPs we often BAFO, and I noticed we had a BAFO earlier that brought it down about 10%. Is there a reason on bids we don't take the top few in BAFO as well, or is that just not outside of our policy?
It's outside of most governmental organizations' policy because bids are awarded to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. It's not a negotiated procurement. So we don't baffle them. The bids are open, read aloud, so folks are out here, looking at what we receive, and it look kind of bad for us to go back and baffle someone. It's just not the right procurement way to do things.
Very helpful.
Okay.
This is why we have procurement professionals. We don't let people like me make these decisions.
All
All right,
thank you.
great. Any further questions? If none, please vote. The resolution passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other matters that we'd like to bring before this committee? If none, this committee meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
All right, good morning, good morning. I will now call to order the Planning and Capital Programs Committee meeting. Our first item on the agenda is the approval of the November 20th, 2025 committee meeting minutes. I'll entertain a motion and a second. Moved and properly seconded. Any additions or corrections to the minutes?
It looks like it says 2026 again, so just move to correct it to 2025.
Okay. We're already jumping into 26. Strong. No problem. All right, please vote. Looks like the motion passes and we can approve the minutes. The minutes are approved. All right, on to the second item, and it looks like we've got Mr. Prescott up for all three of our items this morning. Good morning, Mr. Prescott. The next item on the agenda is a resolution authorizing the solicitation of qualification statements for the procurement of architectural and engineering planning and preliminary engineering services. AE 50793, Mr. Prescott, Interim Chief Capital Officer. Good morning. Welcome to the lectern.
Good morning, Chair Williamson, Mr. Hudson, Mr. Hunt, Ms. Allen, committee members, and gallery. I have a couple of solicitation requests today, as per the MARTA Act, relative to the General Planning Consulting Contract update. For the past decade, our general planning consultants have been providing preliminary engineering concepts around the 15 to 30% design phase. We've reevaluated the program, and we decided to split this general planning contract up into two separate contracts, an A&E and an RFP on-call services. In the past, the 15 to 30% area has been an area that we've had some transition. So this new plan for the A&E that I'm presenting right now is going to allow us to have the final designer involved at the 15% mark, so that transition phase from 15 to 30% is a pivotal point for decision making as we get to that stage gate of decision making, and will allow them to seamlessly transition to the final design without a transition in the middle of that. The RFP will be separate, allow us to get more programmatic, specific services for singular project as well as multiple projects. So the preliminary engineering services is ongoing. We've had this in the past. We will continue this. As I said, we'll pull back the services for 15% for these areas of scope, covering our facilities, high-capacity transit corridors, transit hubs, etc. So the current contract has a 3-year base. It expires this year. And due to the evaluation of the program, we're not going to extend the 2 one-year options. This reevaluation will move forward and we'll reestablish our program now. You can see the current consultants are up there for the current contract. This new contract will be a 5-year base contract. This allows us to have this planning process, preliminary engineering process, to span over the development of these long-term planning programs with some consistent consultant support over the term of the projects. Of course, as usual with these on-calls, the funding will come out of our capital budgets and will be approved annually as we move forward. With that, I'd like to request the authorization for the Department of Capital Programs, board approval resolution authorizing the solicitation of qualification statements for architectural and engineering A&E planning and preliminary engineering services, AE 50792. Thank you.
All right, may I have a motion and a second? It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions? Mr. Pond.
All right, quick question. These current contracts, you're gonna cut them off after 3 years.
Correct.
But then we're talking about having 5-year contracts to have a longer period of time. So I'm just curious, why not extend those contracts 2 more years that you already have options, on an annual option to extend it, because that gives you a longer period of time for this process.
Back to we're trying to pull the 30% design stage gate back to 15%. And so doing it now allows us to do that and to separate out the RFP for the boutique type specific areas of the next request that I'll have. But it kind of separates out the current contract, gives us a reboot on the program to pull it back from 30%. That 50% is really the planning point of decision making. We get an LPA in place, and before we go into, in reality, 15 to 30% is the beginning of final design. We've had a lot of start stops. So by doing this, we're able to, one, get back out in the industry and reboot our whole planning and preliminary engineering program.
So these planning contracts will take it to 15%, and then whoever's selected for the final design will work with them.
Yes, they will own it from 15 to final without any start stops at the 30% transition point.
Mr. Farson?
When these contracts are given for 15%, it's my understanding that do they expire? I mean, if we don't do the project and it's at 15%, does the planning and the engineering piece, does that still stay in play? And then it get moved down the line to maybe in 5 years we get to do it again. Is it still relevant when we get to this 15%?
Well, the 15% is again, an LPA, a locally preferred alternative or direction forward to transition to the final design.
Okay.
So usually we have a programmatic, that 15% allows us to make that determination. Do we pause it now, or do we continue on? If the funding's there, the group's there, the constituents, the need is there, that's a decision point. We don't go to the full 30%, we stop it at 15, and we're allowed to make that decision, transition to final design.
Okay, so it sounds like it allows you more flexibility to
Yes.
to start the project, but if it is a pause, we haven't made such a commitment to it where you can't make the changes.
Correct, and there's less redo, so to speak, from 15 to 30.
I understand that. All right, thank you, Scott.
All right, any other questions? Seeing none, please vote. All right, motion passes. Resolution approved. The next item on the agenda is a resolution authorizing the solicitation of proposals for the procurement of on-call planning support services, RFP P50816. Mr. Prescott.
So this is the second half of the planning. It is the resolution authorizing solicitation of qualification statements, the procurement of on-call planning support services, RFP 50816. Again, this allows us to have a little bit more specific planning support services for specific projects or multiple projects across the program. So again, separating out these areas of expertise will allow us to, again, get a boutique type consultant services that can be more focused on these three areas of utilization. They can work on, again, I said, either single projects for specific needs in each one of these areas, or they can do broad oversight over programmatic, like all the BRTs or the ARTs, to have some consistency across the board instead of having individual consultants for each one of the projects. So this one will be based on RFP process, which is both qualifications and the cost proposals, where the A&E is just qualifications because they're on call. This one will have both qualifications come into play. Give us a menu of services and costs associated with it. We plan on having multiple pre-qualified consultants for each category, but with a minimum of one for each of the categories. This program is going to be 5 years, again, to allow us to maintain a long-term development process. NEPA does take a long time in the specific areas, or planning of corridors. So maintain some consistency over the 5 years and not have any start stops. This one will also be procured and funded through the capital projects and the annual approved budgets. So with that, I'd like to request authorization of the full resolution authorizing the solicitation qualification statements for the procurement of on-call planning support services, RFP P50816.
May I have a motion and second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Are there any questions? Seeing none, motion passes. Resolution is approved. Our last agenda item is a resolution authorizing a modification in contractual authorization for Clayton County Multipurpose Operations and Maintenance Facility demolition, IFB B50330. Mr. Prescott.
Okay, we're transitioning into a project that's ongoing. For you veteran committee members, you may have seen this before, remember this. Ms. Davis was here back in October, and I'll explain why I'm back here today, further in presentation. For the new committee members, the Clayton County Multipurpose Operations Maintenance Facility, the OMF, if you want to have an acronym to shorten that up, is a maintenance facility down in Clayton County that will support 250 buses down in Clayton County, so a brand new facility. The project is currently at 90% design, and in order to expedite the program, we advanced the demolition and deconstruction of the site during the design phase. So we're concurrent with that. For orientation, here is the site that we purchased back in 2022, approximately 31 acres with 2 large buildings in it. The larger one, the B building, was a former Kmart distribution center. It's located down in Forest Park, right there on Dixie Highway 41 there in the foreground, near I-575, or I-75. Here's an aerial of the current condition. The contractor work is done for the demolition deconstruction. They came in and demoed the buildings, the facilities, the infrastructure, even a 200-foot water tower tank. A lot of it was very old, so we got rid of the majority of it, including the roadways and access. Asbestos abatement was included with that, as well as prepping the site for phase 1 environmental site and phase 2 erosion control. The security fence was put up around it to complete the site, secure it, and we are prepped to go when construction starts, hopefully later this year. So now looking at a higher level, wrong way, schedule here for more background discussion. Work actually started last February. But come May of last year, some additional asbestos was found in some pipe chases and wall cavities that had not been found before. Our on-call environmental services contract had already gone in and cleaned out the known asbestos abatement areas before the contractor got there. They were immobilized immediately. They came in and remediated those areas, and work was able to resume in May of last year. The abatement cost, although, exceeded our contingencies. Due to the work that was associated with it, we exceeded it. We shifted some money around within the contract to keep the work going and move on. But as the work got to near the completion, the contract expiration came up, the delay kind of pushed us to the envelope. We didn't want to stop work again or cause a work at risk with the contractor, so we came before the board back in October to get the additional $255,000 addition to cover that cost to complete the job. That $255,000 was based on a field report observation of the work not done in the field of 28 days. Unfortunately, the negotiations with the contractor did not conclude until after those board meeting events. The contractor had submitted 76 days. We had 28 days. The capital team negotiated with them, and we came to a settlement of 60 days of excusable delays. The audit was done, and the daily rate was slightly reduced. But the overall total contract settlement out of this came up with an additional $262,000 above and beyond what we had agreed to at the board resolution. The lessons learned here on our side was we should have been a little bit more conservative with our estimates. The 28 days was the field observation. The team did not take into account the demobilization and the remobilization before and after the remediation. So the additional $262,665 requested today will increase the total authorization to $2,672,826.60. So with that, I'd like to request the authorization of the modifications to the contract authorizing total Clayton County Multipurpose Operations Maintenance Facility IFB 50330. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prescott. I'll entertain a motion in a second. It's been moved and properly seconded. Are there any questions? Seeing none, please vote. Motion passes, resolution approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Stay dry.
Are there any other matters to come before the Planning and Capital Programs Committee?
Madam Chair, I do have a question for our interim GM. We didn't have anything on the Atlanta MARTA project as far as resolutions today, but if you read the paper, you do know there have been some discussions about the status of those projects, specifically the East Side Trail, and sort of what the procedure is on the governance of the MARTA program. And so I think just for the sake of clarity, since there has been a lot in the news, if you could comment sort of on where the MARTA projects are, how that governance and that works on the prioritization and the move forward, and anything else you can say for clarity on that subject, I would appreciate.
Thank you, Chair. I will be brief, Board. So the MARTA Atlanta program is governed by the Program the Program Governance Committee, the PGC is the acronym you'll often always hear us say. That group consists of members from MARTA, the City of Atlanta, as well as the Atlanta Beltline, Inc. The PGC is created under the intergovernmental agreement between MARTA and the City of Atlanta that was entered into after the MARTA Atlanta referendum passed by the voters here in Atlanta. Program Governance Committee is the highest group outside of the board of directors of MARTA. They run the day-to-day decision makings within thresholds within the intergovernmental agreement. There's also groups below the Program Governance Committee, such as the Program Management Committee, that gets really down into the weeds to make sure that the projects are being delivered in the way they want them to be delivered, and working through issues. It's a very large group with many members. The characterization that this group is operating in secret, we felt we took a little bit of exception to in recent publications on AJC and in others. The group is not a public body like this group, but we don't operate in secret. The information in those meetings aren't secret. We get many open records requests for meeting minutes and the like, and reports or anything delivered which we turn over unless there's some sort of exemption that our lawyers say that the information qualifies for. Of note recently is the Streetcar East Extension project, and that project being stopped, put on hold, or paused. Last May, the PGC voted to pause additional planning and design work on that project because it is not a secret that the PGC, our partners, and when I say PGC, the City of Atlanta, Atlanta Beltline, as well as MARTA, have been extremely open and transparent about the need to relook at and reprioritize the MARTA list. During that time, if the Streetcar East Extension project is shifted to a different time period than being imminent, to spend additional dollars today in planning and design in a very dynamic envelope of the city that is changing constantly, we felt would be foolish and not a good use of taxpayer money, which is why it was done. I've also said to this body that we want to curb the planning and expenditure of funds on planning for projects that have yields and start dates that are in the future by some measure of time, beyond a few years. This one could fall into that category, and it would be sunk costs. There's a finite amount of funds for us to deliver the MARTA program, and we are focused on delivery of the projects that we can get shovels in the ground quickly and closing the ones that are open now, which is why you've seen such a large focus on Summerhill, Campbellton Corridor, and other projects from the list. That's a quick synopsis, and hopefully that wasn't too long.
No, I appreciate that, and so I do think the different bodies have different roles and purposes. When the city and the members of the PGC have finished their process of looking at funding and feasibility and all of that, I have anticipated that it will come back to Atlanta City Council and back to the MARTA board for if there are changes to the list that we have previously approved. Is that correct?
Only correction, it comes back to this board.
Okay.
So there'll be a reprioritization. The PGC will say, yes, this is our approved list, and then it'll come to the board for adoption, rejection, questions, answers, et cetera. Once this body votes on it, then the list has been
Okay.
finally changed.
But about half of the projects on the list are moving
Yes.
forward. I mean,
100%.
you know, the ones that you mentioned plus 5 points.
Plus 5 points, and others, Bankhead Station, there's a lot that are moving. I'm
yeah.
just not going through the whole list.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate that clarity. Did that answer people's questions they had about it? I know a few other members had some questions.
Thank you, Chair. I thank you, Mr.
I
Pond.
just have one question, and that's consistent with our IGA with the city, right? The
100%
PGA, it's
consistent with the
consistent?
IGA.
Okay,
Adopted by both, all three bodies.
all right, thank you.
All right, seeing no other matters or questions, this meeting stands adjourned. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Operations and Safety Committee meeting. We're going to call this meeting to order. And if I can go ahead and get a motion and a second to approve the November 20th, 2025 minutes. Okay, it's been properly moved in second. Any questions or corrections? We can go ahead and vote. Okay, all right. Minutes approved. All right. Next on our agenda is the resolution authorizing the award of a single source contract for technical support and spare supply services for the Atlanta Streetcar S70 light rail vehicles RFPP P50693. And presenting this morning is going to be Daniel Heck, Deputy Chief Mechanical Officer.
Good morning, members of the board, Mr. Hunt, Ms. Allen, and everybody. My name is Daniel Hecht. I'm the Deputy Chief Mechanical Officer. Today I'll be presenting a resolution authorizing the award of a single source contract for technical support and spare supply services for the Atlanta Streetcar S70 light rail vehicles RFPP P50693. A quick background on our fleet. MARTA has 4 streetcar vehicles or light rail vehicles manufactured by Siemens. We use the Siemens S70 low-floor light rail vehicle with a slightly shortened length due to the tight turning radius of the alignment downtown. These light rail vehicles have a 25-year planned service life. They are 3-truck, double-articulated streetcars with an overhead catenary system and were put into service in late 2014. MARTA assumed ownership of the Atlanta streetcar system, including the streetcar vehicles, in 2018. Of note, MARTA also assumed the initial streetcar maintenance support contract from the City of Atlanta in 2018, and through multiple contract modifications, we've kept that contract going until this year. Today I'm speaking about a completely new contract which fully resets the maintenance and support contract with Siemens for another 10 years. Contract P50693 is a 10-year support contract with Siemens, the original equipment manufacturer. It includes vehicle condition assessment, technical support services, including parts and inventory, failure analysis, troubleshooting, and repair. This contract also includes 3 major vehicle overhauls, which will bring the vehicles toward the end of their service life. This contract includes annual wheel trimming for each of the streetcars to ensure optimal performance and safety. And the contract includes tools, equipment, design modifications, software updates, obsolescence management, and allowances for accident and vandalism repairs. Here's an overview of some of the major components on the streetcar vehicles that will be overhauled as part of this contract. Now, I'm not going to go through every one of these, but in short, the contract includes comprehensive analysis, overhaul, and repair of all major subsystems on the streetcar vehicles. For financial considerations, this is a 10-year base contract in the amount of $27,949,605. The allowances, including accident and vandalism repair, engineering and safety modifications, additional wheel trimming, and etc., a total of $2.85 million for a total of $30,799,605 over the 10 years. And of note, the allowances will only be spent if needed on this contract. The Department of Mechanical Operations requests that the Operations and Safety Committee recommend to the full board the approval of a single-source contract with Siemens Mobility Incorporated for the technical support and spare supply services for the Atlanta Streetcar S70 light rail vehicles in the amount of $30,799,605. Thank you, and I'll take any questions you have.
Thank you, Mr. Heck. Can we have a motion in second? All right, it's been properly moved in second. Do we have any questions or discussion? Okay, we have Ms. Hardage.
I know that we do most of our work in-house for all of our rail cars, but it sounds like we don't do it for the streetcar. Am I right? Or
That's correct. With only 4 streetcar vehicles, we don't have the infrastructure and the heavy equipment and tools for things like wheel trimming and overhaul of the major components, so that is all done through Siemens. All of the preventative maintenance, inspections, routine repair, that is done in-house by streetcar mechanics, but the heavy work required under this contract is outsourced.
Do we ever intend to try to bring that in-house, or is that just something we can't do at this time?
With only 4 vehicles, the cost benefit is not there. As we think about future plans with streetcar, I'll turn that over to Jonathan, but that
No,
is in
that's okay.
consideration.
I just thought I'd ask. Thank
Yeah.
you. Mr. Pryorson.
Yeah, ever since you had these vehicles since 2018, had there been some overhaul work done to some of the bases of it?
Yeah, we've done a minor brake overhaul on the truck assemblies, and we've done wheel trimming. We do that annually right now under the contract, but as far as a comprehensive midlife and 3/4 life overhaul, they have not been done on these vehicles. Yeah, they're still relatively new, being made in 2014, but now that they're over 10 years old, it's time for their midlife overhaul.
Okay. And the cost of all the overhaul and maintenance for the streetcar, does it come out of Atlanta? That comes out of more MARTA, Atlanta?
In short, yes.
Okay, it is, okay. All right, thank
That's a little bit of an oversimplification, and I'm not bringing my CFO up to explain it, but yes.
Okay, if we can go ahead and vote. Did everybody? Okay. All right, this motion passes. Thank you. And Mr. Heck will be also providing the briefing for bus maintenance operational excellence updates.
Yeah, good morning again. Today I'll be presenting an update on the Bus Maintenance Operational Excellence Initiative. This initiative began in mid-2025 and is aligned with our core priorities of improving bus safety, cleanliness, reliability, and efficiency within the Division of Operations. MARTA contracted with the FESO management consultants to assist in working directly with shop and operational staff in improving bus performance and reliability. This initiative includes holistic changes to how we operate and maintain our bus fleet. But today I'll be providing updates specifically on the following scope activities, largely focused around maintenance and reliability. Included in our improvements are changes to preventative maintenance, compliance, work order tracking, production planning, staffing changes and labor alignment, process enhancements, reporting and information use centered around safe, clean, reliable, and efficient. I'll show some examples of this, and part utilization and dwell. Labor alignment is a key focus of this improvement initiative. For the past 4 months, executive management has been focused on aligning senior and mid-level management and support personnel on our objectives in improving fleet reliability. This has already resulted in comprehensive staffing changes to supervisor, planner, and fleet engineer schedules and reporting locations to better align with how we support our internal customers' bus operations. We are changing our mechanic, technician, and hostler schedules to standardize shifts between all operating divisions and provide clear and consistent processes that result in clean and efficient handoffs between operations and maintenance staff as buses complete their daily runs. This closely aligns resources to bus availability in the division, and we have involved our union partners in these discussions. We plan on implementing these holistic changes to revamp our pull-in process in February or March of this year. Here's an example of data that supports labor alignment. Shown here is Hamilton Yard. This is a 24-hour scale, so midnight to midnight is along the x-axis. The gray line is the service level, and the inverse of that is the orange line, which represents buses available in the yard for maintenance activities. You'll see the blue bars, which represent the number of technicians and mechanics by time and shift. The majority of our workforce works when assets are being used in service. Here's the new model where labor is appropriately aligned with bus availability in the yard. This maximizes asset utilization for revenue service and closely follows standard industry practices that is commonly seen in trucking, logistics, and airline operations. This reduces the spare ratio and refocuses staff on efficient turning of vehicles for utilization in service. I also discussed process changes. Here's an example of Perry Garage and how buses come back to the division late at night. The operator comes through the entrance, stops at the fare vault, and then parks the bus in the main lot. They drop off the mileage card in the office, and at some point in the evening, a hostler finds the bus, takes it to get serviced and cleaned in the left side there, fuel and cleaning, and they repark the vehicle, after which another person will identify buses needed for AM service and where they're parked. And if there's time, mileage cards are reviewed and minor repairs are made. There's a lot of wasted movement and inefficiency in this process. The future state, starting in February or March, includes a clear path for the bus to pull into the division, delegation of responsibilities for cleaning, servicing, fueling, repairing, and allocating assets throughout the shift prior to AM pullout. There's a single flow to the process, and the entire team operates in their respective assigned areas to efficiently support the next day's service requirements, servicing vehicles early, quickly, and making timely repairs to ensure seamless morning service. Now, I also discussed changes to reporting and how we use information to make decisions on maintenance activities. And I don't expect anyone to be able to read the details on this scorecard, but this is the division homepage for Laredo Division. It's an example of what we see every day. This information provides up-to-date detailed metrics and information related to KPIs, performance, and operations broken out by safe, clean, reliable, and efficient. Think of it like a scorecard of each day's performance. Staff use this information to make decisions and drive changes on a day-to-day basis to ensure we are meeting service requirements. Last point I'll discuss today is changes to the storeroom, including a holistic review of parts usage and inventory levels in our warehouse, resetting all part levels for routine, recurring maintenance like inspections, rebalancing our storeroom inventory to align with part usage, looking at historic usage and part lead times, trying to minimizing movement of parts between our central warehouse and the operating divisions. Most of our parts are stored at Browns Mill, and then they're allocated to each one of our 3 bus operating divisions. And identifying individual parts and assigning them to an online parts catalog by bus type through our enterprise asset management software. The board can expect me back in a few months with further updates as to how bus maintenance is performing, but we are already seeing improvements to our fleet processes through what is taking place, including approximately 10 to 15% improvement in MDBF since we began a few months ago. Thank you, and I'll take any questions you have.
Just want to append one thing to Mr. Heck's presentation. This is on bus. Operations is already working on their detailed plan to do the same deep dive on the rail side and come to you with process improvement successes, etc. But just wanted to note that in case somebody said, well, why aren't we doing this for rail as well? We started with the FESO as a force multiplier, and now internally we're going to do that on rail.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Heck or comments? No. All right, seeing none, thank you very much. All right, our next briefing is going to be the MARTA REACH policy package with Andrew Pofall, Project Manager 1, and Ron Van Sickle, Director of Technical Services and Service Planning. And Andrew, did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yes, you did. Good morning, Vice Chair Bolton Harris, Mr. Hunt, Ms. Allen, and members of the Operations and Safety Committee. I am Andrew Pofall. I am the Implementation Project Manager for the Next Gen Bus Network, which includes the MARTA REACH program. And so I am here today with Ryan Van Sickle, the Director of Technical Services and Service Planning, to give you all an update on MARTA REACH. So very quickly, before I get into the details of MARTA REACH, the first thing we wanted to highlight is that we are 44 short days away from launching this new service on March 7th. And then we are 86 days away from the larger next-gen bus network launch on April 18th. A lot of work going into both projects, but this presentation today is specifically going to focus on MARTA REACH. We will be coming back to the full board to give a larger update on the next-gen bus network next month. So, very quickly, wanted to provide an overview of what MARTA REACH is. MARTA REACH is a curb-to-curb service that will be offered in 12 zones across the MARTA service area. What customers will be able to do is request a ride, and I'll walk through a specific example here in a few minutes. And MARTA is committed to picking up customers within 30 minutes of them requesting that ride and being able to take them anywhere within that zone or connect them to other MARTA services. Now, the MARTA REACH service is going to be replacing fixed route coverage in areas where we have lower density and lower ridership. that we struggle to be able to serve with a larger, big fixed route bus. And these zones specifically tend to fall within areas that we have lower incomes, higher minority populations, and higher populations with no vehicle households, so that we can continue to provide service in an efficient way to those groups. As I mentioned, MARTA Reach provides first and last mile connections to our MARTA rail service, frequent bus routes, and transfer points. So you can take trips within each of these zones, but you can also take trips to connect you to higher frequency service to be able to get you to be able to travel around the entire network. Now, I mentioned, smaller vehicles that slide on the very first had an image of what these MARTA Reach vehicles will be. They're smaller Dodge ProMaster vans that, again, allow us to get back into places where typically a larger fixed route bus can't actually make it. Now, the map I have on the screen right now, this is kind of a stylized version. We wanted to make sure to provide you all with a little bit more detail on where these zones actually are in geographic boundaries. So here is the list of those 12 zones with this more geographic map. I would encourage all of you and anybody who is listening, go to itsmarta.com/reach, and we have individual maps that really give you the details of where, am I in the zone or am I not in the zone? Go take a look at those. Those are the best place to be able to learn, am I going to be able to access this service? Now, what we wanted to do to help explain MARTA Reach is to dive into a specific example of a specific zone. So we're looking at zone 304, the Lakewood zone in the South Atlanta area. This zone essentially will operate, and we've done a little bit of modeling. We expect to need 3 vehicles during the peak time to be able to meet demand and make sure that customers are not waiting more than 30 minutes for a ride. The span of service during this zone is very close to what we operate on fixed route today, from 5:45 a.m. in the morning until 12:15 at night. That span of service will vary zone by zone, just like our fixed route service does today, but MARTA is committed in the way that we've set this up is there will be minimum of 18 hours, generally from 6 a.m. in the morning until midnight every night, providing service. The last thing I want to highlight on this slide are the out-of-zone connections. So not every single zone is directly next to a rail station or a good transfer point to make sure that people can easily get into the system. So there are certain zones that allow out-of-zone connections. For the Lakewood zone, you'll be able to take trips to and from Lakewood Station because we can hop on Langford Parkway, get quickly to the rail station, get quickly back to the zone. Additionally, you'll be able to connect to the Carver Station so you can get into the Rapid A line down there at that terminus up by the high school. Now, the next thing we want to do is talk about trip process. How does this actually work? I'm going to move through this slide very quickly and get to an actual example. But essentially, a customer is able to book a ride using an application, going on the web, or calling MARTA directly and booking a ride. RideCo is our software partner providing the back end, so that trip gets put into the RideCo software. That software then communicates with the operator, go pick this person up in this location and drop them off here. And the customer can get real-time information through the website and via the mobile application. So an actual example of this in zone 304. So a customer is at Community Grounds Cafe and they want to get to Lakewood Station. They use the application, they go on their laptop and do it on the website, or they call our reservations to say, hey, I want to go to Lakewood Station. They put that in, and the software then assigns that trip to one of the available vehicles in the zone, communicates that to the operator. The operator has a display in the vehicle that will essentially tell them, okay, you need to go pick this person up. Here's how you get to that location, routes them. Operator goes, drives, picks them up, marks that I've picked you up, and then gets the instructions on how to get them to Lakewood Station, takes them to Lakewood Station, marks that they're there, and then the operator would wait at Lakewood. And with that point, I want to highlight that we're not planning to just have these vehicles when they're not picking people up, laying over anywhere that they want. We have specific areas within the zones, or in this case, at Lakewood and at Carver, that have restrooms so the operators can sit, and then we're not just sitting on the street waiting for things to happen. We do expect demand to be keeping us busy, but we also want to make sure that we've got good places for the vehicles to wait when they're waiting for passengers. So that is an example of how this service works at a high level. The next thing that I want to talk about or get into a little bit of the weeds of the customer expectations. So we get lots of questions about how is this specific thing going to work, how is this specific thing going to work. What we're doing this presentation is making sure that you all understand some of those details. And after this presentation, we'll be putting a FAQ on the itsmarta.com/reach website that includes this information for our customers moving forward. So broken this down into 3 groups: accounts, fares, and trips. So for accounts, regardless of how you're booking, you'll have to set up an account. You can set it up over the phone, on the web, on the application. That account is going to be associated with the phone number. You are only allowed to have one account. Duplicate accounts are not allowed. We will be watching and trying to, if there are inconsistencies with multiple phone numbers and names and stuff like that, those accounts will get shut down. You're not supposed to have multiple accounts. Then accounts are also for individual usage. So if I am writing, I need an account. Now, that does not mean that I cannot help Grandma Pofall take a trip. If my grandmother needs to take a trip, I can still help her do that. We just need to set up an account for her. I need to help her with the application of the website, or I need to call in and say, I'm booking this trip for Grandma Pofall. Here is her phone number. So it's all associated with that individual. We'll talk a little bit later about booking for other people as well, kind of as a group sense. But that is how the account structure is going to work. Next is fares. The fare is going to be $2.50, very consistent with fixed route service today. Same transfer policy will apply. You'll get 4 free transfers within a 3-hour period if you're using the Breeze system. And then just for posterity's sake, fare evasion will be a crime on MARTA Reach. We're still enforcing the code of conduct. You need to make sure that you're paying your fare. Next, and this section is the longest, is the trips. So first, when you do that pickup and drop off and you're putting it in or you're calling it in, our system is going to be address based. What this means is you have to actually put in an address. You can't drag the dot and put it on the side of I-75 and say pick me up, because we don't want to be putting our operators in an unsafe situation where they're picking somebody up that they shouldn't be. And then you also have to put in a drop off address. Next is that trips must be greater than 1/4 mile. So 1/4 mile is generally an industry standard of how far we can expect somebody to be able to walk to access transit service. Our fixed route bus service, the typical distance, we try to keep it at about 1/4 mile. That is not always the case. There are definitely stops that are closer than our 1/4 mile. But a lot of the things that I'm talking about here are essentially to make sure that we're managing demand and that we're still able to meet the customer expectation of being able to get picked up within 30 minutes. Next is when I do go to book that trip, I'm going to be given a pickup window. And there is an expectation that you're going to be ready when that pickup window occurs. It's a 15-minute period where you need to be ready to go. That the bus pulls up the address that you've put in. You're going to be outside or walking outside to get on that bus and leave. Again, managing demand. If you're being late, if you're making the operator wait 5 minutes, then that is taking away service from other people in the zone. And then lastly, customers can book up to 4 one-way trips in advance during a rolling 48-hour period. And the purpose of this is, I mentioned earlier that we are using this in places where we have low density, low ridership fixed route service. And so we're trying to strike a balance of allowing this service to be on demand. I can pick up my phone and get a ride immediately, but also allowing our customers to plan in advance. Now, on that topic and on all of these, we are keeping an eye. We're starting the service up. We have an expectation on how customers are going to use this, but if we see changes and we may need to make changes to these, we can do that, and we will come back to this body to be able to do so. And staff is taking note of the things that we think might need to be modified so that we can quickly adjust as the service gets started up. Next is that MARTA Reach is a shared service. So it is not your personal limo. We are mass transit, so we're taking multiple people. When you book a trip, on that trip from Community Grounds to Lakewood Station, you might stop and pick 2 or 3 other people up. We will be giving you an arrival time that you will be able to get there in that amount of time, even if we do pick up multiple people, but it's shared service. Then on the group aspect, so when I book, say I'm coming back from an Atlanta United game, and I've got 2 of my friends with me, and we want to go back to my place. Me, as the individual account holder, I can book other people to be with me. I have to be on the vehicle, and the other 2 people need to be on the vehicle with me. So if I book a trip for 3 people, 1 and 2 friends, one of those friends does not show up, then my account, me, I'm responsible, and I'm going to take a no-show for that. We'll talk about no-shows in just a second. And related to that is that once you book a trip, we're not allowing folks to modify that trip. You're able to cancel it, and then rebook is what we're going to ask you to do, as opposed to making a modification. This helps us be able to kind of track how people are using the service a little bit better. Which brings me to the no-show policy. So you're considered a no-show if the vehicle shows up and you're not there. You need to be there. Again, it goes back to that pickup window. You need to be ready during that pickup window. Next, like I just mentioned, I booked for me and 2 of my friends. One of my friends runs away, decides they're not going to ride with us. That's on me. It's going to hit me. And then if I cancel a scheduled trip less than 2 hours before my pickup. And again, this is all about managing demand. And what the plan and what we're going to do is you get 3 no-shows within a month. The application will send you a notification. The website will send you a notification when you log in. We'll give you a call and say, hey, you've got 3 no-shows in a month. Please stop doing that. And then excessive no-shows will be evaluated for further action, including account suspension. We are deliberately leaving this open and not being super prescriptive, again, because we want to understand how customers are using the service. And additionally, I have been in situations where I'm at the grocery store and I think it's going to take 20 minutes to do my shopping, and then it ends up taking 45 minutes because the line is really long. So I might have to cancel a trip and then rebook immediately. We are deliberately going to be monitoring the patterns of no-shows that people have, so that if I'm pre-booking a trip every single day and I'm canceling it every single day, that's a different situation than if I've picked up a couple no-shows over the month because I thought I was going to be ready for the service and then I cancel and then rebook immediately. That's a different situation because people's travel patterns change. We want to make sure that we're understanding of those. Then the last thing we want to talk about is kind of the things that you're able to bring on board. So customers with no mobility devices, there'll be an option when you're booking your trip. There'll be rider types, and you'll be able to select the option that I have a mobility device. What this will do will tell the operator on their screen that, hey, the person that I am going to be picking up has a mobility device. I need to go deploy the ramp and then make sure that mobility device is secure within the vehicle. This aligns with the expectations for the operator aligns with what we are doing with fixed route today. Operator deploys the ramp, operator makes sure they're secure, puts the ramp up, drives away. For non-mobility items, you can bring those on board. It's totally fine. You just can't, same policy as fixed route and rail, you just cannot block the passageways, and the operator is not expected to help you. So if I've got groceries, that's fine. I can bring my groceries on board. I just can't ask the operator to go off and help me carry those. That expectation is not going to be on our operations staff. And then the last thing is service animals will be allowed on the service per applicable state laws and federal laws. And that is the conclusion of the presentation. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Board members, any questions? All right, I have Ms. Jones first.
Thank you for the presentation, Andrew. This is great. Congratulations. So excited for this service. I had the opportunity to test it out during the pilot phase a couple years ago, and I will say it was a very efficient service. And I'm glad to see the pilot areas are included in the permanent program. So regarding the no-shows, is that applicable to small children as well? And so I'm just thinking, as a parent, sometimes you have groups of children that you may be hurting or moving about. Someone can't show up for any myriad of reasons. Does that apply the same way as to 18 and over or 12 and over?
Yeah, so when you're booking, there will be, I talked a little bit about rider types. We didn't go into all the details. So there's the accessible option, but there is also going to be an option that'll be children, so the number of children. Yes, so if you have 3 children that you're supposed to be bringing on board and then one of them ends up not coming, yes, that will count as a no-show. But again, that's deliberately why we're leaving the flexibility of evaluation in. And as we see what the patterns look like in terms of the no-shows, and because the data will be telling us that no-show would be a child, will allow us to react to that specific situation in a different way than if it's a constant that's happening on your account over and over and over again, and it's you that's causing the issue.
And will there be a bike rack on the back of the bus?
Yes. Yes, there will be bike racks, and that will be another option that you'll be able to select. So one of the great things about MARTA Reach is there's going to be information that gets communicated to the operator, so that they're going to have an expectation and know who I'm coming to pick up. And so they'll know that there's going to be somebody that has a bike, and the bike rack is actually you can see it on the back of the vehicle there. And so we're putting a procedure in place to make sure that the operator checks. There's a camera there's a backup camera, so they can turn that camera on without putting it in reverse and essentially check, is the bike in the proper place? And then when the customer leaves, it'll also give them a notification of who is getting off, and essentially tell them that this is the person with the bike. And as somebody who uses my bike on the bus a lot, you tend to tell the operator so they know to kneel the bus down for you. But we still have that check in place, so the operator will again make sure that the bike rack has been properly put up before they pull off.
And one more question. People use so many different types of devices in order to
Mm-hmm.
get around. When you say you said non-mobility devices, but if someone has like a foldable e-bike or a foldable scooter, will they be able to bring that on board?
As long as it doesn't block passageways, yes. As long as you can make sure that the other customers can move throughout the vehicle, then you'll be good. And another thing I want to mention on the accessible option, there are 2 slots on each vehicle for being able to put a wheelchair or a scooter. By putting that information in as well, it's not that we won't pick up 2 wheelchairs, but it's just going to be more efficient if we only have a single wheelchair in a vehicle at a time. So the system will make sure that we are getting the best vehicle for the rider type that's requested that trip. If that makes sense.
Thank you.
Mr. Parson?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I mean, we've watched this program get birthed through the pilot that they had at Georgia Tech and come into play, and it's exciting to see that it's now coming into where we start utilizing it, so it's great. I just had a few questions. One is pickup identification process. If somebody's there to pick up, you may have 3 people standing there that need to get on this or may not supposed to get on it. How do we make sure that the right person is the person that gets on the particular van?
That is a very good question. Let me follow up on what the verification process will look like. I have an idea in my head, but I don't want to say it out loud and be wrong and have our operations folks be upset with me.
Great. I'm sure they've given it some thought, but I just want to understand. Yep. I know that I've noticed that when I was using Lyft as a rider, now they have, at least in the DC area, they gave you a specific number, not necessarily the license plate, not necessarily the driver's picture. They gave you a specific number, and that number is what you verified that you were with this particular driver. So I don't know if that's a process in this.
Yeah.
My next question has to do with service evaluation.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have something on these vans so that the riders can say how well their experience has been. I mean, it would be nice to know what the real-time experience is, whether it's through QR codes or whatever. I think that would be helpful. Or maybe it's done on the app.
I think that we're primarily going to be taking feedback through customer service in the same way that we do today, so that if we're having issues, we'll be able to hear about it. I see Rhonda's got her microphone on, so I'm not sure she's got something.
Well, I was going to add, you are correct, Andrew. But we are also, as part of the parent app, the replacement or upgrade of the MARTA On The Go app, are looking at ways that we can encourage customers to give us in-ride feedback. So later in the year.
Great. I noticed everyone is using the little icons with the smiles, and you can immediately say, I like what I just experienced.
Yep.
And just kind of evaluate you. I think that's important to have that feedback. All right. I look forward to it. I'm planning to use the service. It's not in my opportunity zone. I'm going to have to go somewhere and get on it, but I plan to use it. All right.
Well, you can take a fixed route bus to get yourself there. Yeah.
Mr. Pond.
This is a great program, and what we're basically doing is providing better service without buying more buses and paying for more drivers. And I know several years ago when you started this, several other agencies had gone through this process, and they said it was probably one of the most important endeavors their transit agency had ever taken on, but it also was a difficult process.
Yep.
My question is, we know several other transit agencies have gone through the same process. Have we touched base with them on feedback on problems they might have experienced in the implementation that we could learn from, kind of lessons learned?
Yes. So I am going to highlight the EnoMax program. So I was in the EnoMax program, went to Dallas. They implemented an on-demand service a couple of years ago and had the opportunity to talk a lot with them. And one of the lessons learned was to make sure that we do this, that we set these customer expectations up front, and we make sure that the board is aligned on what those customer expectations are, because we don't want, while I said during the presentation, we are going to have to modify this based on our experience, we wanted to make sure, and we learned from our partners in Dallas, set these up first. Don't set them up later as reactive. We're going to have to react a little bit, but try and be proactive. And then in the development of these expectations, we did essentially peer research. So we talked to folks at LA, we talked to folks at Dallas, we talked to folks at Utah Transit Authority and Salt Lake City, who have, those are three of the biggest programs in the country. But then we also talked to some smaller peers. So Gwinnett's got a program, Cobb's got a program, and Chattanooga has a program. So we kind of did a mixture of policy research, both at big and small, to get ourselves to a place where we make sure that we're trying to catch all of the issues up front. We know that we'll still have to deal with some because every region is different, but to set ourselves up for success.
Mr. Hudson.
Andrew, thank you for the presentation. It's great, and I'm looking forward to the service. So we're 44 days out to launch. What is the marketing around this so that the public knows that this is going to be available? I want to see us come out of the gate as strong as possible. Now, I'm a new board member, so I'm watching from a public standpoint just what I've seen prior to getting on the board. And I've seen a little bit about it, but is there a big splash coming out to let the public know that the service will be available?
So the marketing and outreach campaign is really being wrapped into the larger Next Gen Bus Network. So this initiative is really supporting the larger network that is coming online. And so that broader outreach campaign, which includes ads on the system, the web pages, the websites, email blasts, social media campaign. We're talking about doing a text message campaign if we can, and then rolling into, we're planning on doing some open houses in the coming month that'll include MARTA Reach specific information. The open house that we're having at downstairs in the atrium next week will have a MARTA Reach specific table. We're also going to be doing some MARTA Reach specific social media posts to make sure that we're starting to get people aware of this. Our external affairs team has really good relationships with several senior groups across the network, and I know that they have already been making sure to try and get the word out about this service to our seniors, which we think they're going to be a big user group. And one of the things that we've heard from peers is getting them into that application system, getting them into the website, getting that account set up. That's the biggest barrier, and so we're trying to make sure that they know how to do that. And I think that I don't know exactly when the application is going to come live, but it will come live before the start of the service. So you can set up an account before we actually start the service and be ready to go. So as soon as that starts happening, when we're out and about doing that outreach, we're going to be helping people go ahead, set up your account, get ready so that you can be able to use this on day one.
And to follow up to that, since we're in these multiple jurisdictions, has there been any outreach to those jurisdictions so they kind of can promote that for us, also taking advantage of their network of social services and all of that?
Yes, and Jennifer's nodding at me. Yes, I know that we've sent some emails out that include some partner information. As part of the larger Next Gen project, we're putting together kind of a partner packet that includes a reach-specific packet that will also go all the way out to all of our partner jurisdictions so that they've got this information. Earlier this week, went out earlier this week. Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you.
And to append to Andrew's response, I don't know if it's live yet or I know it's coming. I've seen a preview of a trip planner that will be available. So someone who's looking to plan a trip in their as part of the Next Gen network, they want to see how their trip is today versus how it will be at the end of April. They will also be able to use that trip planner and see what routes are available via MARTA Reach or which zones are available. So that's another way for individuals to become familiar with the service and how they could use the service.
And finally, you will also see a lot more social, the external affairs teams heading me out with the vehicle, starting that process last week. And we can bring we had a few questions a couple times. What do they look like? And you got a picture. We can have the vehicle brought up here during the board meeting so you all can walk through it before or after the board meeting next month.
Okay. And I just had one quick question. I think the marketing piece was addressed as far as I think you were discussing before with these zones. If, let's say, 306 zone is not being utilized that much, but 303 has an increased use, that they can radio to get support across zones if it's needed, or did I misunderstand that?
Nope, and they won't even have to radio. So that is one of the advantages of this technology-based system is we've grouped zones geographically close together so that if 303 is spiking, has lots of demand, there's some sort of event going on, there's not a lot going in 306, the vehicle from 306 can be dispatched over to 303 to help manage that demand and then return back to its zone after that demand drops.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited about this because I feel like this is also going to be an opportunity to reach new customers in addition to better supporting our current customers. So thank you very much for the presentation.
Yes, of course.
And our next briefing is going to be rail and streetcar key performance indicators quarterly briefing by Chief Operational and Urban Planning Officer Paul Lopez.
Thank you. Two very tough acts to follow, so we'll see if we can keep it exciting and interesting. Good morning, Vice Chair Bolton Harris, Mr. Hunt, Ms. Allen, members of the Operations and Safety Committee. My name is Paul Lopes, and I'm the Chief Operations and Urban Planning Officer. Per the board's request, this is the quarterly briefing taking a more detailed view of rail and streetcar key performance indicators. As presented by Rob and our research and analytics team earlier, we continue to cycle through areas on a quarterly basis, presenting a more fulsome set of data in a straightforward and easily digestible format for review and discussion. Technical difficulty. So, the KPIs have been developed are related to MARTA's three priorities, up safe, clean, and reliable. Beginning with safe, we already have a series of metrics in the monthly report related to number of safety and security incidents, which, as Chief Creer has mentioned in earlier presentations and briefings, have continued to trend downwards over time. However, equally important is our customers' perception of feeling safe from accidents and crime on rail. To that end, our first metric has been developed by Research and Analytics. It's a new metric based on random customer surveys tied to feeling safe from accidents on rail. It focuses on how customers rate operators driving safely and whether they feel the environment is free of hazards while on trains and in stations. As this is a new metric, which began in Q3 FY25, roughly around April 25, there are not yet sufficient data points in order to develop a trend line. We expect after about a year of data we'll be giving you a trend line to see, and we'll work on setting a goal. So those will be reviewed and implemented likely by Q3 FY26. Currently, the metric sits at 7.85, which is favorable and incorporates a statistically significant shift upwards in FY26 Q1. Next up is our customer rating for feeling safe from crime. It's not going. Crime on rail. It is also a new customer-based KPI developed to gauge customer ratings from feeling safe, either on rail cars, at stations. Although the trend line and goal have not yet been established, the KPI currently sets towards the lower end of the upper band on the 0 to 10 scale. We understand that customer sentiment on security is positively correlated with ridership, and we've taken a few steps to augment staff presence and customer response. Among those is our peak period post initiative, mentioned in earlier briefings, which places administrative staff and support staff and management staff at terminus stations during AM and peak periods, which is the highest ridership demand. As well, our police force continues to randomly ride and check trains at all times during our revenue service day. Next up are a set of metrics, one only at the moment, related to MARTA's clean priority. So here we are tracking ratings for rail station service cleanliness. It's looking at average customer ratings for cleanliness on trains, in and around stations, at restrooms, and in elevators. It's also a new KPI, and again, we'll set the target probably once we have a year of data. We understand that this is one of those metrics that falls well within MARTA's control. To that end, we've started a review of staffing levels and coverage times at stations, and a level of resources dedicated to cleaning rail cars during revenue service. Our goal is to ensure that stations and trains are fit for service and meet cleanliness specifications during our full revenue service day. We will provide additional details on changes at stations, such as the introduction of station checking and cleaning through electronic checklists, shift and resource changes, and shifting of responsibilities internally to provide for a level of oversight and direct responsibility for customer access journey issues at all rail stations and related facilities in the upcoming months. The reliable priority is what we'll touch upon last. There are already a number of metrics in the monthly report available to track our reliability. We'll cover just a few KPIs here in detail. The first one is our rail on-time performance, which tracks how closely rail service runs to schedule. Although we are still below target, we are currently trending better than FY 2025. During this time of year, we typically experience exceptional or severe weather events which create a seasonal degradation over the colder winter months. Although we've had a mild winter so far, and hopefully it'll continue over this weekend, dodge all the bad weather, although it doesn't look like it, it hasn't been all just on luck. We've actually taken a number of measures to improve our preventative maintenance on our aging fleet, and we'll continue to work with employees and the representatives to continue improving preventative and maintenance corrective regimes. We will be shifting resources in rail, just as we have in bus, as Daniel has mentioned, to continue improving our service reliability. Streetcar on-time performance was trending better than FY25 and was well above target until the shutdown due to the utility work by Georgia Power, necessitating the replacement of streetcar service with shuttles. Although the replacement shuttle vans provide a similar headway, the reality is replicating the schedule wasn't achieved given the different characteristics of the vehicles used and challenges encountered in order to keep the older mobility vans in service along the route. I want to take a moment just to focus really closely in on rail missed trip rates. As its name suggests, it tracks the number of trips we've missed as the percentage of scheduled rail trips which were not delivered. On-time performance is closely related with this metric. Our goal is always to provide the schedule service, both in the number of trips we deliver and our adherence to schedule in a reliable and consistent manner. As a bit of a background, when we schedule service, we set the number of rail trips, detailed as the sequence of stops, departures, arrival times, vehicle assignments, operator duties for a specific train, creating a complete time journey from an origin to a destination, or a loop. It incorporates layover, recovery time, which aims to balance passenger needs with operational efficiency, resiliency, reliability, and our labor rules. In cases where service perturbations manifest, either customer-based or system-based, and they impact more than one headway, it becomes impossible to recover the service in a way that provides for completion of all trips in a manner that also adheres to schedule. Therefore, in those cases, we cancel one or more trips or miss them in order to restore the system to schedule. In order to minimize the number of incidents and the amount of time that this occurs and takes up, we provide field supervisors and support through station agents, maintenance staff, and other supervisors to respond to customer perturbations and restore to normal service. However, our focus is always on disciplined preventative maintenance, ensuring that the missed trips due to train, infrastructure, and system failures are minimized. We'll continue to work with employees to realign resources to better support maintenance and rehab work, boosting equipment and system availability. We expect that changes will occur early this year, similar in scope and approach to the changes Daniel had alluded to in the presentation for bus maintenance. Taking a look at our streetcar missed trip rate, it is closely aligned to our streetcar adherence, and it's the same underlying issue. We had to close the streetcar service and replace it with the L vans. The issues we had running those L vans, those mobility vans, and meeting service led to this degraded performance. Lastly, although the previous KPIs help to explain our performance and our adherence to schedule, we realize that an equally important metric is the impact the performance has on our customers' perception of service reliability. As we can see on this metric, customer perception of rail service reliability remains consistent with customer perceptions of MARTA overall service. And although it's not negative and not out of sync with metrics in a statistically significant way, we realize that there is still room for improvement and will continue to do so. This concludes the review of the KPIs. As mentioned earlier, as Mr. Hunt had noted, we will continue a fulsome review of processes and procedures to determine how to best optimize service delivery. Changes will be implemented in both rail and in stations in the very near future, with expectations that we will improve these KPIs and our customer perception of our service. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Lopes, and my apologies for mispronouncing your name earlier.
That's
Any
okay.
questions from the board or comments? Okay.
Not as exciting as the first two, understandable. Got it, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, in other matters, we have, for our information only, we have the FY26 October and November key performance indicators. And are there any other matters that need to be addressed by this committee?
Yeah, just as a point of order for the board and for the public, we're all aware we have inclement weather that's coming. I wanted to give a couple of notes, Chair, permit things. We've been working, I would say, over the last week with our jurisdictional partners, our operational team, our safety team, and MPD on planning. We already have plans in place, but planning for this specific weather event coming up. We do expect to have a meeting this afternoon, which is an all-hands MARTA meeting to work on our deployment, get ready to spin up any EOC or other items. I was made aware during this meeting that the governor has issued a state of emergency. We expect to follow suit after our planning meeting. I've reached out to the airport. Others in the C-suite have reached out to other of our key jurisdictional partners, especially hospitals, line services. We don't have detailed information that we want to get out now before myself and the C-team get together, but do note that the planning is underway and we plan to be prepared to meet this weather event. Additionally, for staff, yesterday I went ahead and permitted the EMT and department heads to permit remote work on Friday and Monday. The inclement weather persists because the cold doesn't really break and there's still icing through late into Monday. Staff can expect an updated note on that memo. If there are any questions about this event from the board you want to know now, please do.
I don't have a question about that. I have a question about something else. So I know in our in the other matters, it has the bus KPIs in there, and I don't know when that is scheduled to be discussed. I know we have gone around and around about when we're gonna go through each of the metrics, but I do believe that back when we approved the bus consulting project, we wanted to get regular updates on, on that. So, can we hear next committee meeting about the bus KPIs? Okay.
Yes, absolutely. FSO's completed their work.
Okay.
We're going into implementing an analysis, so absolutely. Short answer is yes.
Okay, and then when, I know that at least the board is getting to see the beta test version of the new KPI dashboard. When is that available publicly, or are we just seeing that right now?
I'm gonna bring Rob Goodwin. Can you come to the microphone? And this is all still public, but
Okay.
it does have beta test in the
Right.
upper left.
It's not
The public
available.
can see the beta version.
Right. It's not available to the public, yet eventually we'd like to be able to roll that into the process that once, the board's had an opportunity to review that, then we can publish that.
Okay, so it's not live on the It's MARTA website yet?
Correct.
Okay.
And this KPI, as well as the briefing you just heard from Mr. Lopes, both respond directly to the board's request for a more streamlined, simpler, easier to digest, not just for board and staff, but for the public, of our KPIs and how we're doing.
Great. So the public can see what we're talking about today in the board materials. They can look at the PDF of that just like we're looking at it, but it's not quite not quite ready for prime time on the website yet. Okay.
Correct. The dynamic version that'll be live on the website is forthcoming, but it's not live now.
Okay, well, it looks like it's a real improvement to me, so I'm excited to see when that's gonna roll out, real time on that, and thanks for your work on that.
Thank you, Mr. Goodman.
Ms. Hardage.
I'm going back to snow and ice, just because I'm the one that's getting texts from healthcare, okay, so, and everybody's getting nervous. So as you meet this afternoon, where's the best way to find the information? Are you changing bus routes at all? Are you looking at just you doing a normal Saturday, Sunday schedule? But I know you never know how that's gonna work, but what do we tell them?
So one, it's MARTA.com. All of this information will be posted on
Okay.
there in terms of routes.
I just want to make sure I
change
do
routes.
this correctly, because I don't want to mislead anyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, meeting adjourned.
Morning. I know it is gray outside and warm, but we're gonna wake up a little bit with our External Relations Committee report. We will call this meeting to order at now 11:45 a.m. Can I get a motion to approve the External Relations Committee minutes from November 20th, 2025? Any discussion or questions about the motion? Please vote. Motion approved. We will now have a legislative and community engagement update from Ms. Jennifer LaRosa, Senior Director of Government and Community Affairs.
Thank you, Chair Jones, Vice Chair Hardage, ICO Hunt, DGM Allen, Mr. Parker, and board members. I'm Jennifer LaRosa, Senior Director of Government Community Affairs, here to give you that update on the community engagement and legislative agenda. MARTA wrapped a very busy fourth quarter with meaningful engagement across our service areas. Throughout November and December, our Government and Community Affairs team partnered with senior centers, housing agencies, faith community, and elected officials to share information about Next Gen Bus Network, Better Breeze, MARTA Reach, and much more. A key focus was our robust partnership with the Atlanta Housing, mindful, as some of you had made some comments earlier today, of the importance it is to engage with our seniors early and often. We visited each of the senior high-rises to discuss route changes on how MARTA's Reach and on-demand zones works for these residents. During the holiday season, we also joined elected officials for food distributions. We sponsored good events in Clayton County, hosted a few Touch-a-Truck events with story time for children by our very own Tony Thornton, while engaging with parents about MARTA projects. And we convened an impactful luncheon with the concerned Black clergy, laying the groundwork for continued partnership, expanded outreach, and increased ridership as we head into spring. As we begin the new year, MARTA's engagement team hit the ground running. We'll continue connecting with these senior communities, limited English proficiency areas, colleges and universities sharing updates on many initiatives launching in spring 2026. Starting with the January open house at MARTA's HQ, then taking the conversation on the road throughout our service area that meets people where they are. With that said, we have also scheduled over a dozen open houses around the jurisdiction just this week that'll be posted for the public on all MARTA channels and pushed out to stakeholders shortly. We've also shared a partner toolkit for all of these initiatives with electeds and stakeholders that we'll update monthly leading up to these launches, and we'll definitely make sure that the board receives those as well. Shown here are a few highlights from our busy season of community outreach. Top left is a holiday touch truck event at our Summerhill March, our MARTA Rapid project at Terminal South. Bottom left is a food distribution at Oakland City Station with Atlanta Council Member Bond. Top right's a Route 83 ride-along sharing some updates on the Summerhill project. And our final Gooder event of the season hosted at the Clayton County Commission Davis in Riverdale. We're very grateful for this ongoing partnership and conversations that are essential to our work and the valuable feedback that continues to help share our service. In an effort to advance our legislative agenda, we have presented to Clayton County, City of Atlanta, and Fulton State delegations. We are scheduling some time with the CAB delegation at the Capitol soon. Mr. Hunt has done an amazing job at sharing our priorities and garnering support in the jurisdictions. We have also begun scheduling brief updates with each caucus in each chamber to ensure every single member of the General Assembly hears from us personally on our priorities. We're happy to report the pending extension legislation has been well received thus far and will be signed by leadership on both sides of the aisle in the House. We had a very successful BRT simulation for the third year in a row to and from the Georgia Chamber annual Eggs and Issues events, where we're very thankful that most of you joined us. And we've heard nothing but positive feedback with our efforts to keep BRT top of mind with these elected officials as we near the MARTA Rapid A Summerhill route beginning service. With that, I'll take any questions and thank you for your time.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you, Ms. LaRosa. We'll now have a marketing and sales briefing covering 2025 highlights and 2026 updates. from Chinette Kanita, Senior Director of Marketing and Sales.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. And y'all bear with me, I don't have my readers today. 150? Thank you. Look at that boss.
Good
Thank
teamwork
you.
right there.
Right, right. They're a little big though. All right, thank you. All right, so good afternoon, Chair Jones, Vice Chair Hartage, Mr. Hunt, Ms. Allen, and other members of the board. My name is Chinette Kanita, and I'm the Senior Director of Marketing and Sales. Y'all are falling apart. Thank you for the opportunity to share a few highlights from MARTA's marketing campaigns from the past calendar year. 2025 was a year of growth, success, and new partnerships that strengthened our brand and deepened community engagement. Today, I'll highlight some of the key initiatives that expanded MARTA's visibility and presence across Metro Atlanta. So I want to walk you through the following. A high-level look at how our marketing and events perform with a focus on community engagement, visibility, and overall impact. Campaign highlights including the Atlanta United 2025 season partnership, our Outcast campaign, and our year-end holiday and customer events. Also, we'd love the board's support in spreading the word about MARTA's advertising opportunities. And looking ahead, we're preparing for our 6 major projects, including the FIFA World Cup, to position MARTA as a key community connector. So our focus this year has been on fewer, higher impact activations that deepen community engagement, expand reach, and support system priorities. We delivered 25 targeted events and activations, reaching approximately 93,000 people, a 22.5% increase over 2024, demonstrating stronger scale and visibility with a more focused approach. We also introduced new community-centered activations, including the 404-Day event and parade, the Reading and Writing Family Day, and the One Music Fest, allowing us to meet writers and residents in culturally relevant, high-visibility spaces. Also, our monthly e-newsletter continues to be a key channel for keeping customers informed about MARTA events, partnerships, and system improvements with a list of approximately 100,000 subscribers. And lastly, our email engagement continues to strengthen and beating the industry standard with a 40% open rate, which measures the number of emails open, and 0.56% click rate, which measures the number of clicks within an email, signaling increased relevance and trust with our email audience. So building on that momentum, I'll now highlight our key campaigns, beginning with the Atlanta United Partnership and its impact during the 2025 season. So in the second year of our 3-year partnership with Atlanta United, we continue to build visibility and engagement through ticket and breeze card offers, in-stadium branding, and targeted digital and social outreach. The partnership supports fan access to matches using MARTA and creates opportunities for community and employee connection events, and events on co-branded merchandise, and employee season pass perks. Our in-stadium graphics generated over 3.4 million impressions this season, with exposure across LED ribbon boards, a 100-foot mega column, and nearly 1,000 concourse TVs, delivering thousands of minutes of brand visibility and rotation with other sponsors. On July 19th, for MARTA Night, we launched our 2025 merchandise, offered custom breeze card ticket packs, and as a thank you to employees for the 2024 APTA Agency of the Year Award, we provided free tickets for employees and discounted tickets for family and friends. Over 1,200 tickets were claimed. Atlanta United sold out of our co-branded apparel in under 24 hours, and we hosted 10 pop-up sales at stations and events, totaling $25,000 in sales. Now, looking ahead, the 2026 collection will feature limited specialty items launching ahead of the FIFA World Cup, giving fans and employees something truly special to celebrate. MARTA had a strong presence across Atlanta United's multiple channels. On social media, 9 posts generated 180,000 impressions, while radio reached 465,000 listeners. Our run-of-site website ads, which appear across multiple channels of Atlanta United's site, garnered 250,000 impressions and 4 million page views, dramatically expanding MARTA's visibility to fans online. These results represent a significant increase over last year, demonstrating that our brand is reaching more people more often across platforms where fans are actively engaging. This means higher awareness of MARTA services, stronger community presence, and a clear return on the partnership investment. About 22% of fans used MARTA in 2025, up from 19% in 2024, and consistent with prior years. We saw that match ridership increased year over year. Ridership results do vary with attendance, which is influenced by factors like team performance, scheduling, and competing events. Overall, when fans attend matches, MARTA remains a reliable and preferred way to get to the stadium. So next, we'll showcase how MARTA celebrates Outcast, a campaign that boosted our visibility and engagement across Atlanta while connecting with fans in a unique, memorable way. So Sony Music approached MARTA to help celebrate Outkast's 25th anniversary of Stankonia and their Hall of Fame induction, and we jumped at the chance to excite writers and strengthen our cultural relevance. We wrapped a bus, revealed it at a fan event with music and celebrity appearances, and it continues to run on routes around the city, including famous routes mentioned in their lyrics, all while creating a lasting, authentic connection with the Metro Atlanta community. We received support from our leadership team and our employees, connecting with the community and having some fun. The campaign sparked major community excitement, drove high demand for limited edition Breeze cards, and delivered strong online engagement with 257,000 social views and nearly 11,000 likes over 2 weeks. Media coverage totaled 726 mentions with a potential reach of 2.4 billion. Translating to an estimated $22.5 million in advertising value, and that's the equivalent cost if we had purchased this exposure. Fans celebrated the bus on routes immortalized in Outkast lyrics, sharing photos and videos citywide, and the year-long rap continues to deliver impressions and cultural impact. We wrapped up the year with 2 community holiday events drawing 1,500 attendees, 11 activations with Artbound and MARTA Market, a new partnership with the Decide to Cab, and 3 wrapped buses giving 41 days of free rides, all helping to celebrate memorable experiences and connections with the community. We also enjoyed our first ever sponsor for the holiday bus wraps. This year's holiday bus wrap was festively sponsored by Tulsa Welding School, and we are already in discussions regarding future advertising and sponsorship opportunities. So to that point, MARTA advertising remains a strong platform for connecting local businesses with our millions of daily riders. We've been actively promoting these opportunities and truly appreciate the continued support of our leadership and board committee members in helping amplify the message by sharing with your networks. You all have 2 one-pagers in your board packet, and you'll receive these documents and talking points electronically. So in 2025, we focused on high-impact customer initiatives, and in 2026, we're building on that momentum with new projects, major event preparation for the FIFA World Cup, and expanding marketing and advertising efforts to engage riders and support revenue. I'll be back in March to provide an update on our sales program and advertising revenue and our efforts in preparation for the World Cup. Thank you.
Mr. Hunt?
I just want to give this group their kudos. When you go back through the presentation and they talk about the Atlanta United event and throughput on ridership and how that's now back to trending up, we want to work to get that number up from 22% to a 35% throughput for all events down in the Sports, Entertainment, and Convention District Station, and expect the same as the CIM group and Centennial Yards comes online. and the value created around the excellent Stankonia Outcast event of over $22 million in advertising value. Just to keep that, we kind of, Ms. Kanita ran through it pretty quickly, but that's just one event. That's not a quarter or a year or 2 years of advertising value. That's one event and one throughput. So I just wanted to give them their flowers.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Hunt. Mr. Pond?
This may be more of a question in the community engagement section, but I think of all of these projects going on, and I think of observations from seeing other cities and counties when they have special purpose sales taxes to pay for these things. And typically they'll have signage relating to this project is being accomplished by this type of funding. I'm not sure we do this, but contractors many times are required to post some kind of sign that you can design. I think of stations like 5 Points or the Summer Hill project, but it seems to me that it would be smart if we're not doing that to have signage so the public sees this work going on, that their tax money is being spent now, and other than this project's being done by some other source.
That's good. That's a good suggestion.
I don't know if we're doing any of that, but I know that typically, I know a lot of these counties, the contractors are given a graphic design and they post a signage of some sort.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Traditionally, MARTA hasn't done that much. We have started that with 5 Points. Now, some of that will be covered over with the beautification and the mural and whatnot, but that is an initiative that we're going to be launching as new projects come on down in Clayton County, so they can see money being spent in their local jurisdictions.
That's great. Thank you.
Yes, I want to say just how valuable your marketing team has done, Ms. Kanita, and what you've done in the community. One of the things that you see when you go into these spaces and you see what MARTA is doing to connect with the riders is that they really are grateful for what we do for transit service. And it's people who need this system. It's not something that they get a choice. And they are so grateful, and they see me so thankful that MARTA is there doing things, giving them gifts, just saying we appreciate what you do. And so when I go to some of these events and I see how people are so excited about that, I see the value that we are putting into getting people to appreciate MARTA. And I think that we need to continue that. And I say, y'all do a great job of doing that.
Thank you.
And I'm always grateful to be in this space to watch us service the public, because that's what this is about.
Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, this meeting will be adjourned. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.